Hello, dear friends. 30 days of good news with the Master, and today it's day 25th. Yay! Right, Shosara, we're making it. I like 2 thumbs up. Let's go. Hello, Adilson. Chapter 25, The Last Supper. What good news are ahead of us today? What is it for us today to rejoice? What is it? Hello, Katia, and Osvaldo, and Tanya. I got your message, Tanya. Thank you. Angelita. For those who are watching this for the first time, we do these therapeutic study sessions at dawn, at midnight, Eastern Standard Time, for 2 reasons. One is to make us feel a little bit what the first Christians did when they gathered together in the middle of the night at the catacombs. Of course, we're never going to come that close, and they were running away from the persecutions. We're not running away from persecutions, though we know it exists, and it's different, right? Hello, Felicia. Hello, Isabella. Thank you, Felicia. Blessed are we, right? So, the second reason for being here midnight is also because the dawn of a new day, and only the good news of the Christ consciousness can provide to us enough resources and guidance for the true transformation. And this is irrespective of religious background. Some people ask, but Vanessa, are you now, I have many friends on Facebook who are not spiritists, and they're like, what's happening now? Or you're a scientist, but you're like pastor now, preacher? No, I'm not. I'm just sharing the good news. When we feel there are good news, we share. And this book, titled Boa Nova in Portuguese, the original, in English, Good News, really shares with us empowering messages that can last to immortality. And we're not kidding. And it's the single opportunity for us. This book is already in English and awaiting its publication. We're reading parts of it, discussing, and using it for therapeutic purposes in this very critical time on the earth. Many people are paying too much attention to the news and forgetting about the good news that is everlasting. And don't forget, the book we're reading was published in the middle of the Second World War. It was psychographed by the renowned Brazilian medium, Francisco Cândido Xavier, or Chico Xavier, and he became a true recognized humanitarian spiritist in Brazil, and now in the world. Little by little, more and more people get to know of him and the works. And this is one book that was psychographed through him. The spirit author is the renowned Humberto de Campos, right? Let us go. You can't hear me? Guys, you can hear me. Please let me know if you can. Hello, sunshine. I love the gifts. Thank you, Osvaldo, for letting me know. Testing as we sing. Okay. These chapters, the last chapters we're reading, are quite challenging. Thank you, Solange. Thank you, Isabella. Hearts, love, and gratitude to you too, Raquel. Thank you, Felicia. Oh, Rihanna is there with you? That's fantastic. Great. Where are you guys? Just asking, because I know Rihanna was in South Africa. How about you, Felicia? You're there too or elsewhere? If I'm not mistaken, right? Hello, Olivia. And Katja, thank you for the feedback, friends. These chapters are challenging, and I'll tell you why. Because psychologically speaking, when we face our shadows, it's very challenging. Not everybody has an easy time facing their difficult, the shortcomings, the limitations, etc. No wonder we reincarnate most often not remembering what we've done in previous lives. It's God's mercy. It's God's mercy. Some people say, I wish I knew it. I would do better jobs. God knows better, right? It's like that movie, Joseph, the King of Dreams. There is a song they put together, Disney, and it says when he talked to God saying, you know better than I. God knows better than us. And if we forget, go to the Gospel according to Spiritism. The chapter Forgetfulness of the Past shows to us the reasoning behind it. We're still very sensitive. We would either be feeling so guilty and unable to move forward, or truly encapsulated in anger, in resentment, and also creating a lot more obstacles. So the best way is to forget. But we need to face our shadows and our true selves. For the time being, we love ourselves. Remember, I love and approve of myself. I'm a child of God. But I'm a work in progress, right? No problem, Tanya. Thank you. She's your mother. Thank you, Felicia, for letting us know. Great. So, the Last Supper. The apostles were gathered in the company of Jesus on the first day of Easter celebrations. As in other times, the Master parted the bread with his usual tenderness. What master is this that is serving others, right? Yeah. And you're right, Isabella. We can barely bear the things we've done in this life, let alone. Yeah, you're right. So the Master, let's learn the non-verbal lessons too. He parted the bread with his usual tenderness. Question for us. This time of the year, holiday season, we visit friends, etc. Do we, when we visit family and friends, we expect to be served without serving? Oh, but Vanessa, I'm a guest. What can I do? I don't want to be invasive, etc. But it's not about being invasive. It's about being helpful. Jesus is showing here to us the importance of service in the minimal things, like parting the bread and distributing to everyone. Before you start eating, you make sure that everybody's covered. And we think only the hosts are going to do it. Some people may claim, but he is the true host. Yes and no. Yes and no. But remember, he's the Messiah. Usually people who have a certain level of authority, position in this world, they feel like being served. So we need to pay attention to this constant reporting that Humberto de Campos is giving to us, showing to us these nonverbal lessons. The Master parted the bread with his usual tenderness, and he was not exasperated like, oh my gosh, I want to eat, I'm so hungry, come on people, let's get it done, right? I'm saying this because it's very common nowadays. His gaze, however, without betraying the serenity which he always displayed. Always. If we want to picture Jesus, a line, serenity. Always. So I don't know which Jesus people taught you, but many people I came across in this life, they tell me, I always felt afraid, feeling like he was judging, he was doing this, that, and the other. No, that's not the Jesus we're learning about. He's different. He's tender. He's kind. He's serene. But firm. We'll see it. He had a mysterious intensity, as if his soul at that moment vibrated in harmony with the highest planes of the invisible world. You know, when you look at people, or you may feel, I'm not saying the same, but you know, a tiny similar maybe. Highly connected when you see people. Some people have seen the Dalai Lama, Thich Nhat Hanh, and Divaldo Franco, Chico Xavier, and you could tell they were like connected. And there is this mysterious intensity. Of course, we're connected with simplicity and joy. The companions commented about the feelings of the people while the master meditated silently. This is also very interesting. Like in the previous chapter, as we come to the final moments of Jesus incarnated on the earth, we observe why it was time for him to go too. He could go. We can tell in the reports of Humberto de Campos that many of the disciples were ready or almost ready. Like James in the previous chapter, he had all those qualities that Jesus already taught him and all of us. The serenity, Judas was anxious, he was serene, he was loving, compassionate, kind, hopeful, courageous. And here we see the companions were talking with simplicity and joy. Friends, we need to know more about this. You know, sometimes we're so consumed about the physical, the cleanliness of the physical, germs, but we forget about mental bacteria. André Luiz talks about that. In the book Liberation and in the book Missionaries of the Light, many others, but we're going to learn what makes us create this mental bacteria. The Messengers as well by André Luiz through Chico Xavier. And it's like mental pollution, literally. In the book The Messengers, read that by André Luiz. André Luiz is volatilizing over the city, and he asked the instructor, what are those clouds? It looks like rain clouds, but are they rain clouds? And he says, no. These are clouds of mental bacteria, of people who think negatively in the city non-stop. So here we have the disciples gathering together and talking about their feeling, the feelings of the people with simplicity and joy, meaning they got it. They learned with the master. Do we talk with simplicity and joy when we gather together with friends and family? Or do we bring that anxiety, that stress, the illusions of life, and making people feel tense? You can almost feel it there too, right? But simplicity and joy. Simplicity and joy. What am I going to say? People are going to feel like I'm stupid, blah, blah, blah. You know, I remember coming from Brazil almost 19 years ago, maybe. Yeah. And science in the United States has a pattern that is quite different. You need to speak, and not only in science, everywhere. The more you speak, the more you're opinionated, etc., the more people think you're so wise and smart and blah, blah, blah. But that's not how it is in other cultures. It's a cultural difference. It's not a big deal, but it's interesting because when I entered that scenario in science in the United States, I remember when we had our meetings and I wouldn't wait for the moment to speak, believe it or not. And I remember my boss saying, but Vanessa, you need to speak more. And I was conflicted. I said, you know, it doesn't match how I really feel about it. So I learned the right measure. Mentor Joseph taught me how to do it culturally adapted without missing my principles. You know, I don't want to miss it. Like, show off? Why? No. I don't need to brag about myself. Though, at some times you have to say, you know, what I've done is this and that and the other. It's not that you're enhancing, you're just emphasizing it, right? But here we're learning a paradigm with Jesus. Simplicity and joy in our conversations, in our way of living. First quiz? Yes, first quiz for us. Where are we regarding simplicity and joy in our conversations? Are we being simple and joyful? 0 to 10. 0 being never, no. Or, well, actually, rarely, sometimes, or often, or always. Where are we regarding our levels of simplicity and joy when we are talking to people? Let's pay attention to this. Hello, Laura. Hello, Gustavo and João Bosco. Prayerful moments, deeply meditating. And by the way, the Master was meditating silently. So he allowed them to talk and talk. But at a certain moment, after a long pause, now Humberto de Campos says, the Messiah, it's the divine messenger, that feature that comes and speaks, emphasized with impressive firmness. Think about this, so we learn it, this non-verbal feature, so our mirror neurons can imprint impressive firmness. So we learn when we want to be impressively firm, what is it? It's possible. Firm. Impressively firm. Let us hear from the Master, because here he's going to tell us much more. Beloved friends. You know, I'm always impressed the way he starts talking to the disciples. It's always like friends, beloved friends. He never talk. So you, servants of God, or come on guys, pay attention to me. Could be many possibilities, right? But he observed throughout the chapters. This is chapter 25. He uses this very expression. He's very coherent. He says, I'm giving you the best title of all, friends. And he doesn't betray himself. He's aligning attitude, the approach in the rapport with the disciples, plus the words. It's what Mentor Joseph says. Strive for coherence. Thoughts and feelings, words and actions. Jesus always begins his explanation to the disciples with that statement, friends, beloved friends. Shall we adopt it? Oh, but Vanessa, people are going to think I have a hidden agenda. Do you have a hidden agenda? Because if you do, you should be worried about it. If you don't, it doesn't belong to you. Why not? It's the way of being and living. That's the way it is. And you know, the reality is people are hungry for this type of paradigm. People are tired in the world, tired of the lies, of the masks that we use. It's time to be lovingly authentic. Lovingly authentic. When we say authentic, with love. Not simply authentic with truth that hurts. We're all learning, right? Hello, Carol. It's good to have you here, friend. All right. Beloved friends, the time has come in which the prophecy of the scriptures shall be fulfilled. Humiliated and hurt, I will have to teach in Jerusalem the need for self-sacrifice, so that not only one kind of victory triumphs, such as the transitory traits of selfishness or pride, So, keyword, self-sacrifice. Some presidents of spiritist centers come to me, but Vanessa, there are few workers, and I still have to do a lot. Well, my friend, if the master had to do it all, what can we expect of ourselves? Don't illude yourself. If you're doing a good work on the earth, you're going to need to sacrifice. What? The ego of being served. I remember somebody coming to the SSB, the Spirit Side of Baltimore, many years ago when I was the president there. And this man came to me and said, but you know, if you are the president, you shouldn't be helping cleaning the center or cooking or doing little things. And I said, in this center, we live the Christ consciousness. And the one that wants to really be aligned needs to serve more. Presence of Spiritist centers, if they are truly aligned, they are working more than everybody else. Not out of competition, but out of coherence. Inevitably. And I don't say more in the sense of not delegating, because delegating is not about delegating positions, but delegating tasks. Nestor Mazzotti, a former president of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, taught me that in 2005. He said, don't forget, you delegate tasks, not positions, because those who want to work, they don't need titles. And those who need titles, not necessarily, they want to work. So delegate tasks, assign tasks. Positions are not important. Lesson learned. Thank you, Nestor. Hello, Rose. Thank you, my friend. Blessings to you and everyone in the family and everyone here. So Jesus continues. Throughout history, humankind has applauded the golden tribunes, and we still do. The resounding military marches, and we still do. That glorify themselves with bloody rewards. The ambitious men who have forcefully dominated the spirit of the restless crowds, and we still do. Appreciate that on the earth. However, I came from my Father to teach those who have fallen in the eyes of the world, while carrying out their sacred duties of love as messengers of a better world, where good and truth reign. My victory is for those who know how to endure defeat among humankind, so that they might triumph with God in the divine construction of His works, sacrificing with joy for the glory of a greater life. People will not understand you. It doesn't matter. You keep working with joy. I remember family members asking me, some, not all, but some, I can't believe, and who am I? I'm a nobody. But just to give a tiny example, what people still think, you give talks and you don't charge for anything. You do this work, you don't charge for it. If you were charging, you would be a millionaire. And I said, I wouldn't be a millionaire. I don't think so. I think Divaldo would be a millionaire. But yeah, I might have some money, but that's not the point. That's not the point. Kardec Radio is free of charge. Every volunteer, every host, nobody, it's 100% volunteer based. The Spiritist Magazine, the centers around the world, any federation like the United States Spiritist Federation, doing great job, the International Spiritist Council. A lot of work, and a lot of misunderstanding sometimes from people, but it's a work of joy, serving others with joy. sacrificing sleep, sacrificing health, sometimes sacrificing entertainment, but everything mundane. Think about this. In the face of what he was saying, everybody looked at each other anxiously. That's how they were feeling. But he continued. The Messiah, remember, Humberto de Campos chooses the words perfectly. Now we're listening from the one who was designated by God to guide us, to teach us, to model the pathway for us. But he says to us, as a wonderful Messiah who consoles, he says, don't be anxious, be not disturbed by my affirmations, because in truth, one of you will betray me. What is he saying? He's saying, don't be disturbed, but some of us are going to be betraying him. The hands that I caressed now will turn against me. However, my soul is ready for the execution of my Father's will. The small assembly turned pale. And Humberto de Campos explains that Judas knew what he was doing. He was about to give the last step, which was just the kiss that was missing. But everybody started feeling like the pain, the ill sensation, while Judas was concealing his painful emotions. He was suffering too. Often, if not always, he was conscious in a way, but not necessarily spiritually conscious. He knew what he was doing, but he was suffering already. But it wasn't enough for him actually to stand up and shift. But the other companions were anguished, and they turned to the Christ, the one that came to implement the Christ consciousness, which is a universal ethical moral code. And then Philip, with a strange glow in his eyes, he says, who would be the traitor? And then Andrew naively asks, would it be me? It's so interesting. I remember a media study session at one of our spiritist centers, and we were talking about the spiritual influence and how much the spirits do this, that, and the other. And this person said, I feel maybe it's something that is happening to me. Is that me? And it's so interesting because it reminded me of this passage with Jesus. You start laying out what's going to happen and what is happening and the mechanisms, and people start picking up, feeling it's theirs. Why do we do this? It's what we call the emotional contagion. So we need to be very careful. Emotional contagion. The disciples were experiencing it. But after all, objected James, in a loud voice, where is God that he doesn't confront such danger? How many people ask the same in the spiritist centers? If our center is doing right, how come there are spirits who try to invade it and change it and disrupt it? Well, Jesus remained silent during those first questions and raised his gaze to the son of Cleophas and warned him. James, a warning from Jesus. Silence your voice of so little trust in the wisdom that governs our destinies. One of the major virtues of a disciple of the gospel is to be ready for the calling of the divine providence. Pause, because this is one of the most important culminations of this chapter today. The good news. This is the good news for us. One of the major virtues of the disciple of the gospel is to be ready for the calling of the divine providence. Remember when we started the first chapter, Jesus was calling the disciples, James and John and Andrew and Philip and Simon, etc. And we said, I want to be the disciple too. So he's saying, one of the major virtues is to be ready for the calling of the divine providence. It does not matter where and how the testimony of our faith happens. It doesn't matter. What is essential is that we reveal our union with God in all circumstances, accepting and enduring the hardships. It is indispensable that we do not forget our conditions as God's servants, in order for us to answer to His call in the hours of tranquility or of suffering. Where are we regarding our readiness to the calling of the divine providence? Because we often think if we have a difficulty, we're being punished. That's an ancient habit. Reading too linearly. Oh, if I lost a job, if I lost a child, if I lost a loved one, quote unquote, because we never lose them, if I lose some money, or if I lose, I don't know, beauty and health, etc., I'm being punished. If we know of this message, we already know that those are moments for us to serve God in a specific way. Are we ready to read differently these moments in our lives? Are we? We're servants of God. He says, we do not forget our conditions. It's indispensable not to forget that we're God's servants. So if you are meeting your family, remember, before you are family members in the blood, we are family members in spirit. And we are God's servants. So we are there to serve God by serving them too. Right? What do you think? Ready for the calling of the divine providence. At that time, as the Messiah became silent, you see how he pauses. He's silent. It's a very delicate moment. And he uses very skillfully the pauses, the silence, giving time for people to meditate. Time for the emotions to be managed, because we're emotional beings. Breathing in and out, silent. And then John intervened. He asked a question, very important. Lord, I understand what you say, and I pray to God for the necessary fortress of courage. He's so adorable. A good student, a good disciple. However, why precisely would one of our apostles be a traitor of your cause? You have taught us that to eradicate scandals from this world, other scandals are necessary. Nevertheless, I cannot yet fathom the notion of a possible traitor from within our own school, your own school of edification and friendship. School of edification and friendship? I want to register. I want to enroll in this school. We love schools. I love schools. But a school of friendship? I've never heard of that before. Have you? Let's pay attention to this revelations. School of friendship. School of edification. Edifying ourselves spiritually through this community feeling, true friendship. Did we get how we progress? Together. We cannot progress alone. We cannot progress alone. For example, when we see the work at Kardec Radio, people think, it's only Vanessa. No. There are more than 60 people working on it. at their own pace, at their own time. But this doesn't happen 7 days a week with one person. Plus the spirits on the behind the scenes. The same for the Spiritist magazine. The same for every Spiritist center and every works of goodness around the world. It's not us. Emmanuel says in the book Living Spring, every work of goodness is of God. It's not ours. It's not ours. We're serving. The great ideas don't come from us. Vanessa, great idea. It's not mine. Sincerely, it's not mine. Because I tell you, as a mom, sometimes I don't have energy for new ideas. You know what I'm talking about if you're a parent. You know. Or if you take care of children. They must be adorable, but mamma mia, you need a lot of energy. And sometimes you just want to sleep. And no room for new ideas, please. Only the good spirits to share these ideas. That's how it is. And Jesus is teaching us. His school of the gospel is a school of edification and of friendship. We want to register. We want to enroll. We want to be there every day. Jesus fixed his serene gaze on John and emphasized, he stressed, well, my friend John, in truth, I must affirm that it's not possible for me to tell you everything now. He couldn't explain to us. However, later I'll send the Consoler who will clarify this in my name, just as I speak to you now in the name of my Father. Friends, the promised Consoler, April 18th, 1857. It brings tears to my eyes. Look at this picture. The great apostle of Jesus, Allan Kardec, and his wife, Amélie Boudet, holding the Spirit's book, where we finally understand why did somebody in the school of the gospel with the loving Messiah betrayed him. How is that possible? He couldn't explain. We needed the works of psychology and the works of spiritism to put them both together and talk about our shadows, about our previous lives' conditionings, talk about the spiritual company that influenced us. But if you want to know more, because now we know what happened to Judas. Besides the chapter we read yesterday, chapter 24, you can also know more about Judas in an interview that Humberto de Campos did with Judas, and through Chico Xavier we get the whole report. It's in another book, and it was, the voiceover is at Kardec Radio in a whole program interviewing Judas. Just Google it. Not Google. You can Google too, but go to kardecradio.com, there's a search bar, and you type in bing, 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 interviewing Judas, or go to iTunes, and you know now we have 2 channels at Tuning Radio, one for the live and the other one for the programs that we stream. We're merging both January 2017, but we have it there 24/7 for everybody. And interviewing with Judas is there for you too. So he said, I cannot tell you now, but I'll send you the Consoler, April 18th, 1857. The promise is fulfilled. Spiritism comes, and we finally get to know the truth. And stopping briefly to reflect, he continues speaking to the apostle in particular. You see, everybody's there, and he's talking to John. Listen, John, he says. If the designs of God are unfathomable, they are also invariably just and wise. The scandal will unfold in our own beloved circle, but it will serve as a lesson to all of those who come after our footsteps in the divine service of the gospel. Another revelation. They will understand that to reach the narrow door of redemptive renunciation, they will meet with many times abandonment, ingratitude, and misunderstanding from those they hold dearest. Have you experienced this? You're on the right track. Going through the narrow door is about doing something that people usually don't do. It will reveal the need for each person to assert him or herself in the path towards God, no matter how thorny and somber it may be. And I still meet people who are Christians, spiritists, etc., who say, I thought my life was going to be easier. I was working so much to help others. I'm going to stop it all because it's too complicated. Missed the narrow door. We missed the narrow door by this much. We can't understand yet the divine providence, and be ready to what? Be ready for the calling of the divine providence. Maybe you're there working, doing the best, and then suddenly a big event happens in your life and people are like, what? Did you know? Chico Xavier had a heart attack. Divaldo Franco had a heart attack. They had diseases right to left. I remember Divaldo with pneumonia coming to our home in Baltimore for an event and a tour in the United States. And I said, Divaldo, you were 70 years old, 79 at the time. How come? Why didn't you stay in Brazil? He smiled. And he reminded of the calling from the divine providence. He took care of himself. He was taking the medication, but he wouldn't stop it. And he still doesn't. Almost 90 years old. Chico Xavier didn't either. And Thich Nhat Hanh had a stroke recently. And now he's back to the community. He traveled. He was there for the new monks and nuns that were being graduating, and he was there still teaching. He's also advanced in his age. He had a stroke, but like Raul Teixeira, still serving, still working. It's easy to say it's beautiful when it comes to others, but when it happens to us, do you think Thich Nhat Hanh, Divaldo, and Raul Teixeira and others felt like they were being punished? Who said that pain comes from punishment? Erase that out. In the book Action Reaction, we learn about 3 types of pain. Pain evolution, that comes from the outward in. A pain that comes, the suffering that happens when we are growing, inevitably. It's like muscles. You go to the gym, you work out, next day sore. Wonderful. It means you worked new muscles. Pain assistance, which is the pain that comes to stop you from incurring into greater mistakes. And the third one, pain expiation, the pain in which we are cleansing ourselves, expunging the disturbances. Nobody in Spiritism talks about pain punishment. It doesn't exist, my friends, because God is loving. So when we go through a difficult time, we need to meditate. Is this pain evolution? Is this pain atonement or expiation? Or is this pain assistance? And meditate to learn the lesson. The sooner we learn it, the faster we're going to catapult ourselves out of it. And not necessarily stay in the physical body, but go back even to the spiritual body through death with deeper understanding, the true lesson learned. I know it's easier said than done, but you and I have gone through things and we have been attempting to do this exercise. So let us keep focused in doing this exercise, right? Okay? Now, he says, the apostle was impressed by the latest words of the master and started meditating on the teachings like we're doing. But you know what was happening to the disciples? This lesson for us, the good news, is about the importance of staying strong and calibrating ourselves with God, focusing. It's always like, focus. I wake up to serve God. I sleep to serve God. I rest to serve God. I eat to serve God. I take a shower to serve God. I work to serve God. I study to serve God. In every useful occupation, I meditate to serve God. I speak to serve God. That's our affirmation today. It's the main good news for this chapter 25th. Judas, he still had his own will. He didn't align with the will of God. That's why he failed. He thought his ideas were ahead of the Messiah, the one and only that was designated by God to help us, guide us, model the pathway to us. Illusions. Fascination, we call it in Spiritism. Chapter 23 of the Medium's book by Allan Kardec. The categories of obsession, fascination. But we only allow ourselves to be fascinated because there is self-obsession. There is that need to fulfill the ego. Vanity in Judas' case. Right? Exactly, Livia. The 3 types of being allowed us to act positively. You're right. So the disciples were feeling this discomfort. And then what did he do? He is doing something to console us. You're feeling the discomfort? You don't know what's going to happen next? He stood up. Now visualize the nonverbal lessons. He stood up, offering to each apostle a piece of bread, consoling. He's nourishing our souls. He has this nurturing quality, which is the feminine of the psyche. He's nurturing. And he exclaimed, "Take this and eat it. This is my body." Next, serving to everyone a small decanter of wine, he added, "Take this and drink of it, because this is my blood of the New Testament confirming God's truths." The symbolism that reveals to us immortal lessons. Let's keep reading, and we are going to break it down together. The apostles allowed his gentle recommendation, naturally surprised. Without concealing his incomprehension of the symbolism, Simon Peter asked, "Master, what is this?" Oh, Rose, you were so kind. Thank you. You are disciple of Jesus. A lot of kindness there and compassion. Thank you. But, friends, you know, Peter, so authentic. He doesn't need to put masks. He is who he is. He's like, "What is this, Master?" Like, "You crazy? We're here like distraught, anxious, we don't know what to do, and you are offering bread and wine. And Jesus, with emotion, oh, Humberto de Campos, hallelujah, with emotion, because we detach Jesus of emotions, and now Humberto de Campos, boom, makes Jesus complete, holistic, a true master, not a master of words, the real deal. He's like words and feelings and thoughts and deeds, actions. Jesus with emotion said, Beloved, observe the expressions he's always using, filled with coherent words. He doesn't talk about love and say, hello friends, come on, hey guys. He was that close, being that informal, he could have done it. But he keeps the truth being aligned with words and actions. And he treats everyone the way he's asking us to treat one another. Beloved, our last moments of working together are coming to an end. And hello, my friend Vanessa. And I want to reiterate my recommendation of love. As since the first day of the apostolate, this bread means the banquet of the gospel. So he said before, take this bread and eat it. This is my body. What did he say? He's saying the banquet of the gospel, meaning the body of the Christ-conscious principles. We need to eat it. Eat it, meaning nourish our souls at every meal, all the time. No wonder many people are so hungry. And they eat apples and bananas. Like the children's song, we wish it were only apples and bananas, huh? But eat and don't feel satisfied because we're not eating with mindfulness. And we eat mindfully when we're eating spiritually. We're nourishing ourselves of good vibrations. What are the highest nourishment for our souls? Love. Are you shocked that this new generation is going to live less than the previous ones? Till now, every generation was living longer than the previous one. This is the first generation that is going to live shorter. Why? Because of obesity. But why the obesity? We're not nourishing ourselves spiritually with love. And forgive me, but Mentor Joseph always reminds me of Leon Denis' words, parents and educators. It's about love. And when we love, we sacrifice with joy. As Jesus said, sacrifice with joy. So, our last moments of working together are coming to an end. The bread signifies the banquet of the gospel. And this wine is the symbol of the renewing spirit of my teachings. You know, many people drink wines, and that was not the purpose of Jesus, to make them drink. That wine was... I'm not going to go through the discussion because this Saturday at Kardec Radio, Julio Carvalho from the Divine Light Spiritist Center in New Jersey, United States, he's going to help us understand the Spiritist view on alcoholism and social drinking, okay? I'll leave it to that at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at Kardec Radio. But for now, We know that Jesus had a purpose, offering wine, saying, "You will renew yourself through my teachings." As we nurture our souls with the bread of the Christ consciousness, we are renewing ourselves. We're drinking the vitality that it contains. What a meal, unsurpassed. They are the symbol of our perennial communion, togetherness, in the sacred idealism of love with which we will operate in this world until the last day. All of those who share with us throughout time this eternal bread and this sacred wine of the soul, eternal bread and sacred wine of the soul, eternal bread, will have their spirit made fertile for the glorious light of the kingdom of heaven that represents the sacred objective of our destinies. And then, as he was there pondering the intensity of the effort to be employed outside the circle of the flesh and in earth's closed spheres, Christ now added, "Immense is the work of redemption, because I have other sheep that are not from this world. However, the kingdom awaits us with its luminous eternity." Besides any discussions now, we want to bring it to the therapeutic moment, the inner knowledge. We're marching towards chapter 26, 25 to 26 tomorrow. By now, we've been learning more and more closely with the Master verbal, nonverbal lessons, emotional body language, emotional management, thought processing, thought management, behavioral management. Now, the question is, how often during our days are we mindfully eating this eternal bread and drinking this renewing, he says here, the renewing wine, the sacred wine. How often are we doing this? We need to verify. Well, highly touched by those words, and all the more amazed with the promises of that joyful eternal kingdom that they could not clearly understand yet, the majority of the apostles started to discuss the aspirations and achievements of the future. While Jesus and John engaged in loving conversations, James and the son of Alphaeus examined future possible achievements, trading opinions about who among the companions will be the greatest. And then Philip affirmed to Simon Peter that, and then they discuss. I'm just going to summarize it here. And they are talking about who's going to be the greatest. The Master interrupted his private conversation with John. And what did he do? Shouted at them? No. Punished them? No. Saying bad boys? No. Observe them. What a nonverbal lesson. Before saying anything, he was already saying it, showing to them that he was there as well. Present. Sometimes I have parents in education say, "I don't know what to do with my child, just observe them." They know they're being observed, and that's already a message for them. They crave for attention. We do too. We do too. You know what I'm talking about. You feel the love beyond words. Yeah, the song, More Than Words, Isabella singing for us. And the discussion was heated. The words, greatest of all, resonated insistently in the ears of Jesus. And it seemed as if the participants of the sacred school were on the eve of dividing some material acquisition. It's like, you have a living will and people are already like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to take that, this is going to be mine, that's going to be yours. That's pretty much the feeling. With the exception of Judas, who had fallen into a somber silence, all of the apostles were now arguing passionately, and sensing their incomprehension, the Master contemplated them all with saddened piety, compassion. Saying like, can't believe it. With kindness and compassion. It was at that moment we're entering the last paragraphs, okay? Last. At that moment, the apostles observed that Jesus stood up. Again, educator. He sits, he stands. Messages that are different. There is a message in itself. Raising ourselves up, inviting others to do the same. To everyone's surprise, he removed his simple tunic. It was already simple, but it wasn't enough for what he needed to teach. And he wrapped a towel around his hips, as was the customary style of slaves who performed the most intimate personal service for their masters. And as if words were dispensable, a true master knows that words are not enough. At that exemplary moment, he took a vase with perfumed water, kneeled, and started to clean the apostles' feet. Before a general protest of such an act of supreme humility, Jesus repeated the timeless lesson. And how often people who have positions on the earth, they escape the encounter with the people they're leading. They escape the opportunity to be there with them, to be patient and kind, and to be also a vessel of educational opportunities for others. The Master is teaching us. When we take responsibility over a community, we can't indulge in staying far away from the people we're serving. We not only need to serve them, but sacrifice a lot of ourselves to be there and work, respecting without the emotional contagion and without draining of our energies too. So then Jesus repeated the timeless lesson. You call me Master and Lord, and you're right, because that I am. And if I myself, the Master, can wash your feet, you should equally wash each other's feet along the pathway of life. Because in the kingdom of the God and the truth, the greatest will be those who genuinely make themselves the least among all. In your home, in my home, what position do you have? Of a mom, of a dad, of a big brother, big sister? What is it? That's an opportunity for us to serve and be the least among all. If you in your workplace think about, oh, but I'm the boss, you shall be the least among all. Oh, but I'm going to lose my... We're not going to say you're not going to fulfill your task, but do it with love and kindness. Do it without showing off. Do it with authenticity. Do it with genuine generosity. And people are going to feel it. They're going to feel it. They are going to feel it. What a chapter, huh? What a chapter. Lessons for immortality. Lessons that we'll never forget. Lessons that will be with us forever. Our readiness to fulfill God's will. That's why every day we say this prayer with Virginia and ourselves. Thank you, God, for what you provide to us. Thank you, and may we stay strong and so we can fulfill your will on the earth. Never forget that we're serving God. If we keep on that track, we won't fail. We'll stay faithful, loyal in the communion with God. Right? Is this good news? Is it? Are you feeling it? Yes? Thank you, friends. Thank you, Osvaldo, Tanya, Jackie, Lisa, everyone, for being here, for staying together in this feeling of community and calibrating ourselves, because soon, 2017, is going to come to the earth, and a new challenge of the heart is awaiting us. Kiss of gratitude, big hug of joy, and let's eat the bread of the gospel and the wine of the renewal of our spirits with Jesus' teachings.